Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here for an early look breakdown of the Week 13. Yes, Week 13, guys. Time is flying of the NFL main slate on Draftkings. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. I want to thank you guys again for the continued support on this channel. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. The easiest way to support me, since all the content is free, is to leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when they're live. As always, for the main slates, will be live 1 hour before lock to go over all the breaking news, answer any questions you guys have. Also going to try to aim for 100 likes on this video, guys. So yeah, hit that like button if you do enjoy the content. Also, if you guys cannot watch these videos, I do upload an Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. It's just the DK DFS show. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we talk about players and the prices for Week 13's main slate, let's take a look back at my lineup here from Week 12. In Week 12, the main slates recently, I've been struggling a bit, and last week I tried to get a little bit too contrarian. Right, I kind of knew what the best build was, and I just wanted to get away from it because of the ownership. So yeah, let's take a look at my lineup. So I basically went with the Arizona-New England game stack, and that obviously did not work out at all. My worry with always targeting players against New England, or just seeing New England and slate in general, is they are a very slow team if it's like a neutral game script or they're playing from ahead. And they were playing from ahead a good amount of that game, and you saw, right, it's just killed everyone's production. Now, sure, right, Kenyon Drake running in both Arizona's touchdowns obviously didn't help. I kind of went over what I thought was the optimal build with Mahomes, Hill, running it back with one of those Tampa Bay wide receivers, right? I talked about really liking the upside there, and I should just went with it, right? I just think I tried to get too different here. Like, I liked the fact that obviously Kyler was going to be way under-owned compared to Mahomes, and I took the risk there. It didn't work out. I think, for the upcoming slates now, I think I'm going to play a safer route, I guess, and just play what I think is the best possible lineup and not overthink it, right? That's kind of what I've been doing recently. I've just been overthinking myself too much. Eckler was my favorite GPP play. Talked about him all week long. Even talked about him in the live stream. Like, he is my favorite GPP play, and didn't get him into my lineup. So, yeah, right now it's like I'm on the right guys. I'm just overthinking things. So, the Murray-Hopkins stack did not work out. I ran it back with James White. Honestly, got a bit lucky there. Like, he had one catch, got bailed out with the 2 touchdowns. With Brian Hill versus Nyheim Hines, that was really close. I could only get to one of those guys, and I went with Hill because he was cheaper of the bunch. Hines paid off, partly due to the fact that they fell behind big time early. Hill was kind of a bust. Don't necessarily think that was a bad play. Got a bit unlucky. Ito Smith ran one in. That game just completely blew out, like, surprisingly, right? I know some people played Derek Carr. I wasn't really high on the cheap quarterbacks, but then again, I played Kyler Murray and had 8 fantasy points, so not much better there. Yeah, Calvin Ridley was okay. Gabriel Davis, talked about him being my favorite value play at wide receiver. He finished nicely at 16.9 fantasy points. I know a lot of you guys got into him as well, so hopefully that helped. But yeah, basically, my lineup was the Arizona-New England stack. Cam Newton, I think, only had 8 completions. Like, that's the downside with New England, right? They have that risk. Like, if this game is close to playing from ahead, it's just going to be an ugly game, and that's what happened, unfortunately. And then, yeah, Saints defense. So, all in all, it was just a week that, I felt like I was on the right pieces, right, with Eckler. Obviously talked up, the Kansas City stack, even though it was popular. That was the optimal way to go. But just unfortunate. I think I just tried to get a little bit too contrarian. So let's see if we can bounce back here for Week 13's main slate. Pretty excited about this one, looking over the salaries. I think there's some good plays here. So let's review some of the Vegas odds for the games that are out right now. We have Bengals, we have Dolphins. It's a 42 over-under. The Dolphins are currently 11-point favorites. We have Browns and Titans at 54.5 over-under. The Titans are 5.5-point favorites. We have Lions, we have Bears at 45 over-under. The Bears are 3-point favorites. Colts and Texans is at 53.5 over-under. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites. We have Jags, Vikings at 52 over-under. The Vikings are currently 9.5-point favorites. Raiders and Jets at 47 over-under. The Jets, or I should say the Raiders, are 8-point favorites. Saints and Falcons at 46 over-under. The Saints are currently 3.5-point favorites. Rams, Cardinals are 48.5 over-under. The Rams are 3-point favorites. Patriots and Chargers are 47 over-under right now, a pick'em. And that rounds it out for the main slate. So let's take a look at quarterback this week, and Russell Wilson's at the top at 7.7K. Obviously, we haven't seen him yet. He's playing tonight against the Eagles, but he's someone that is in play every single week. High floor, high ceiling, right? He's a guy that's been doing a little bit more on the ground as well. The matchup against the Giants is mediocre. Like, it's not amazing. It's not terrible. The one concern I guess I have here is Daniel Jones' status is currently up in the air. If he can't go, can the Giants score enough points to really make the Seahawks put the foot in the gas pedal? I don't know. Like, if the Seahawks get off to an early lead, it could be a heavy dose of Chris Carson. So there's some risk involved here, and got to keep an eye on the status of Daniel Jones. But Wilson's basically play every week. Kyler Murray, I know he had an off game last game. His floor of 8 fantasy points. Like, he had his lowest game before that was 20, which was in the previous game. So back-to-back not so good games here from Kyler. Only 15 and 31 yards on the ground each last 2 weeks. I think maybe the shoulder injury, honestly, might affect him a bit. Maybe he's a little bit more hesitant to run the ball. And this matchup is not the best against the Rams. So at this price in this matchup, I think he's more of a contrarian play. So yeah, not someone really looking to in a cash game. So Deshaun Watson at 7.5. Saw what Tennessee just did to this Colts defense. Colts missing a couple pieces due to injuries, and the Titans just lit them up defensively. Houston, has been playing pretty well on the offensive side of the ball. 34 and 36 fantasy points in back-to-back weeks here for Deshaun Watson. He's a guy that's been doing a little bit more on the ground as well. So I think Watson's in play in both formats here. Definitely someone I'm looking to. Herbert, I'll just say it, right? Know the risk. I got burned by it last week by playing players against New England. So what you kind of need here is, honestly, you need the Chargers to pull ahead in this game if you want a shootout. If New England's playing from ahead or it's a close game, it's going to be a really ugly game. So there's risk involved there. Now, Aaron Rodgers at 6.8, I just think that's way too cheap. He's a guy that's been so consistent this year. Basically 20-plus fantasy points every single week. He has a lot of upside here. Clear guy you compare him with in Devontae Adams. So yeah, at this price, I just think that's a missed price here on DraftKings. I really like Aaron Rodgers. One of my favorite plays, I think, in both formats, in cash and GPP. Big Ben at 6.5. Well, the positives here with Big Ben, I guess got to keep an eye on this because there's a chance maybe this game gets postponed because the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game on Tuesday might get moved back. So we'll see. But positives with Big Ben is they're just not running the ball. It doesn't matter, right? In the game against Cincinnati, they won 36-10. In the game against Jacksonville, they won 27-3. He still threw the ball 46 times in both those games. So it doesn't matter about the game script. They're playing from ahead, they're playing from behind. They're going to air the ball out. That makes Big Ben a lot more viable here. I think he goes a little bit overlooked on the slate if, in fact, this game is included on the main slate. So Big Ben definitely in play there. Now, Kirk Cousins at 6.4 against Jacksonville. This is a really good matchup. He threw the ball 45 times last game. Now, again, partly due to the game script. If they are playing from ahead, we know they will kind of slow it down, right? But at this price point, got to keep an eye on Thielen's status. If Thielen can't go, we talked about Justin Jefferson, right? With Prize Picks, he was a guy like the over there. It hit. But yeah, Justin Jefferson would be, if Thielen's out once again, like Jefferson's going to be pretty popular this week. So Kirk Cousins is definitely viable there in the mid-range. Now, Taysom Hill at 6.3. Yeah, sure, the matchup's good. It's just, do I trust in his passing ability? I don't know, right? We saw a pretty good week from him 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, where he completed 18 of 23 passes. But can he continue that level of production through the air? I don't know. Obviously, it does help that he has rushing ability, where he's had 4 touchdowns on the ground the last couple games. That definitely raises his floor. So Hill, viable, but do I trust in his passing ability? I don't know. Again, Breeze still out. Ryan Tannehill's at 6.2. I think is a fine option, but what you need here, again, Tennessee is a run-first team, right? In a game they're playing from ahead, didn't have to throw the ball a ton. So if they do pull ahead in this one, it'll probably be a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, who broke the slate last game, or last slate. Fitzpatrick's at 6K. If Tua's out, again, I think he's a viable option. Right? The matchup's pretty good. Had 20 fancy points the last game against the Jets. Fitzpatrick's in the game he's played, he's been pretty solid. So I think he's a decent, cheap option. Even Phillip Rivers is in play here at 5.9. I know it's gross. I know people don't really want to play Phillip Rivers, but this is right now one of the highest over-unders of the slate, right? And Houston really struggles defensively, so I think Rivers is actually in play. Am I going to play him? Probably not, but I think you could look to him for salary relief. A couple other guys I do want to mention here for cheaper options. Carson Wentz at 5.4. I'm curious to see how he looks tonight against Seattle. It's a really good matchup, so I'm curious how that goes. If he plays well, then I think he's someone you can look to for salary relief. I don't know if we can go to him in cash games because he's been very up and down and turnover prone, but the matchup is pretty good here against Green Bay. It should be a game where they play from behind as well. I even think if Foles is out once again, Trubisky is viable here at 5-4. Kind of got there in garbage time last game, but this is a good matchup. He's a guy that does have some rushing upside. So, yeah, there's some cheap ways to go at quarterback if you want to punt the position. Like, even Jared Goff against Arizona, I think, is in play. Another guy that, you probably can't go there in cash, is very up and down. But at this price, I think you can give him a look. So, yeah, there's some cheap ways to go if you want to punt quarterback. But for me, it's probably going to be spending up once again. There'll probably be more value opening up throughout the week as well, where I feel more comfortable with the guys at the top, and that's kind of how I've been playing it all year. So, honestly, the guys I'm looking to right now, probably Deshaun Watson, probably Aaron Rodgers. That's where I'm leaning to initially right now for this early look. Running back, so Dalvin Cook at 9.5 was a bit of a bust last week. He got injured, did come back, so got to keep an eye on his status. Is he going to be full go? Positives here, it's a really good matchup, and this is a game they're probably going to be playing from a head in. So, sure, he was kind of a bust last week, but maybe that lowers the ownership. Normally you expect about 30 touches from Dalvin Cook, which makes him a pretty solid cash game play here. I think the ownership does drop after the bust last week. Now, Derrick Henry, the ownership will go up after that big week. I don't like Derrick Henry. I don't like playing him. He breaks the slate like a couple times a year. He broke it last week when no one was really on him. If you want to go back to the wall there, I get it, right? He's been super, super productive, 100 plus yards the last 3 games, and they're going to feed the ball. They've been feeding the ball him more, right? 28 and 27 times the last couple of games. So, yeah, if you want to continue to ride Derrick Henry, I'm not going to talk you off him. I think he's in play. I'm probably not going to go there from the price hike and the fact that the ownership will probably be up too. Now, Nick Chubb's at 7.7K. Kind of the same player as Derrick Henry, right? Not going to involve a ton in the running game, or in the passing game, I should say, but over 100 yards the last 3 games. Now, sure, it does have some competition with touches with Kareem Hunt. That makes him more of a GPP play, but he's basically got 20-plus fantasy points 2 of the last 3 games. So I'm not going to go there in cash games, but I think you can give him a look in GPPs. Now, Josh Jacobs actually missed a bit of that game last game due to an ankle injury. We'll see if he will be good to go. They say he has a shot to suit up against the Jets. If he can't go, then we'll look to Devontae Booker for value. So that's something to monitor going later into the week. James Robinson's at 7.3K against Minnesota. He's still producing, even with the Jags offense kind of struggling. He had over 100 yards. He had 5 catches and 6 targets. It's just the price. It's 7.3. I personally feel more comfortable with some other running backs in this price range. Aaron Jones at 7.2. You know what you get into with Aaron Jones, right? He's not going to get a ton of work because they'll give Jamal Williams a good amount of carries. What you expect from Aaron Jones is probably 15 to 20 touches, but he's normally very productive with his touches. At this price, I think he's a fine option, not really someone to prioritize. Austin Eckler, talked about him all week. It's one of my favorite plays. Talked about him on the live stream. Is my favorite GPP play. Went out and got 23 fantasy points, 11 catches, and 16 targets. I've been hammering this down all year. You cannot trust coach speak. Right? There is rumors that, they're going to limit Austin Eckler. No, he was a full go, right? He got his full workload, so you just cannot trust coach speak this year with the NFL. Sure, the price went up, but right now Eckler is just a guy that the floor is so high due to his pass catching ability. Now, right, this is a risk, right? Because New England, if New England gets off to an early lead, they are going to really slow this game down. So that does make him a little bit risky just due to the matchup. Kamara at 7K, it's crazy. 7K against Atlanta, and I really don't have much interest. Just because, they are not really throwing the ball a lot. Now, I could see a way where Kamara gets you there. I think what you need is New Orleans to fall behind. If they do fall behind, I think they will utilize Kamara a bit more. But yeah, only 13, 11 carries. He has 1 catch the last couple of games. It just, with Taysom Hill playing quarterback, it really does lower the floor there with Kamara. Antonio Gibson had a big week on Thanksgiving, but against Pittsburgh, I'm probably going to look elsewhere at that price. Miles Sanders at 6.7. Expect about 60 to 70% of the running back touches here. The matchup is pretty good. It does have some involvement in the passing game, so a viable option, but again, not really prioritizing him. Swift, got to keep an eye on that if he does play. I think he would make for a pretty solid option, who was, kind of getting workhorse level, carries the last couple games, 13, 16, 5 targets last couple games he did play. So got to keep an eye on that. Chris Carson's at 6.3. I'm curious to see what the workload is tonight. I assume it's going to be a full workload, and this is a game they're probably playing from ahead. I think, if he does get a full workload tonight in the Monday night game, then Carson does look like a pretty solid option, right? Because again, Seattle probably playing from ahead, and he's been getting a little bit more involved in the passing games, in the games that he has played. Other options at running back. Let's see, Latavius had a big week last week. 19 carries, over 100 yards. I'm not going to go there, but he's been more productive than Kamara last couple games. Other options at running back, Kenyon Drake. So tilting, because I played him so many times early on this year, and he just busted. Last couple games, he's been solid. He was really good the last game, of course, when I played Kyler and Hopkins. So super, super tilting. I'm probably not going to go there in a tough matchup. Wayne Gallman at 5'6", has been getting more and more carries. Got 24 carries the last game. Now, I think that was due partly to the fact they were playing from ahead most of that game. This is a game they're probably playing from behind. So, yeah, playable, but not really prioritizing him. Booker's at 5'5", so again, got to keep an eye on the status of Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs can't go, I think Devontae Booker does make for a really solid value play in a game that the Raiders are probably been playing from ahead. David Montgomery at 5.5K. This is just way too cheap. He is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite plays of the slate right now. Matchup great here against Detroit. No competition for touches at running back. He's basically, we saw his first game back from the concussion. He played like the entire game. A good amount of involvement in the pass game. He had 5 catches and 6 targets. I love Montgomery. He is right now one of my favorite plays of the slate there at 5.5K. Other options, Snell. If Connor's still out, we can give him a look. So got to monitor James Conner's status. Hines at 5'3". Again, he had a big week, but partly due to the fact that they fell behind big time and didn't really run the ball. So that did benefit Hines, right? 8 catches and 10 targets. Got to keep an eye on Jonathan Taylor's status if he's available to go. So we'll monitor that going into the later into the week. And then, cheap options at running back, that probably wraps it up for me. Carry on would be potential value here if DeAndre Swift can't go. Right, he looked like the best Lions running back in that game against Houston, so maybe value. But again, that'll be something we'll monitor later into the week. So let's move on to wide receiver. At the top, Devontae's at 9K. He's had, kind of a subpar game for his standards, right? Only 6 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. But with this guy, the upside is just through the roof. He has 40 to 50 fantasy point upside. And with a kind of an underpriced Aaron Rodgers, I do like Devontae a good amount here, if you can get to him. Now, I think there probably will be enough value that opens up. There already is a decent amount of value on the slate. I really do like Devontae at that price. With Metcalf and Lockett, Metcalf's at 8.2, Lockett's at 7.4. My issue is same thing with Russell Wilson, right? If Daniel Jones is out, can the Giants score enough points where the Seahawks really have to air it out? I don't know. Now, Keenan Allen at 8.1. Same thing I'll say about Eckler, right? He's a guy that's getting double-digit targets every single week, but just New England. I don't like seeing New England. There's risk, and I got burned by it last week. Hopkins in a tougher spot. He's going to be pretty low-owned. I think more of a contrarian play. Other options, Thielen. We'll see if he'll be available with the COVID list. If he's not, we can go right back to Justin Jefferson, who had 7 catches on 13 targets, 2 touchdowns in a really good matchup. I think he once again looks pretty good. Ridley's at 7.2 against New Orleans. New Orleans has actually been really solid defensively. And Atlanta, throwing the ball at least, they haven't been amazing. Matt Ryan has been struggling recently. So Ridley, I think more of a contrarian play right now at that price point. Now, Will Fuller's at 7.1. Had a huge week last week. 6 catches, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, you don't expect that. But with the Colts missing some pieces, this looking to be one of the highest over-unders this slate, I think Fuller is once again in play. We'll talk about Cooks too. But there is, both Houston receivers I think look pretty good options. Michael Thomas is at 7K. Do you trust Taysom Hill? Right? He did have a pretty good week against Atlanta a couple weeks ago with Hill at quarterback. 9 catches and 12 targets. Do you trust it? I don't know if I do, so maybe more of a GPP play there. Let's see. Allen Robinson's at 6.7. I think is a pretty good option here. Had 8 catches and 13 targets last game. Again, a good matchup. We'll talk about some cheap receivers for the Bears. I really like Mooney. I think he's way, way too cheap on this slate. But Robinson definitely viable there. I think he does go a little bit overlooked. With the Pittsburgh receivers, right, with Johnson, Claypool, Juju, all in play just because they just don't run the ball. So if this game is on the main slate, I think you can look to all 3 of those receivers. Now, Cooper Kupp's at 6.1. I know he was a letdown last week, right? Only had 2 catches and 5 targets, but this is a better spot here against Arizona. And it's just a price point, 6.1. That is too cheap. So love Cooper Kupp. He is also one of my favorite plays of the slate. I just think that is way, way too cheap. Other options at wide receiver, you can make the argument for Woods at 5.9. He had a better game last game, 7 catches and 12 targets, both playable. Both, I think, are underpriced. Now, Cooks is at 5.6. For me, I think I like the price a little bit better on Cooks compared to Fuller. Both guys, we know where kind of the targets are going, right? It's going to be Cooks, it's going to be Fuller. Cobb's still out. Kenny Still's no longer on the team. And Houston's just been airing the ball out a ton, not really running the ball a lot, which is obviously good. So I think I slightly prefer the price point on Cooks to Fuller. Both definitely in play here. Other options at wide receiver, I think the Philadelphia guys look pretty good here with Fulgham and with, where is Jalen Reagor? Reagor's at 4.5. I like the price a little bit better on him. We'll see how the game goes tonight. We'll see how Wentz looks, but this is a game, again, they're probably playing from behind. There should be some points scored in this one. Green Bay hasn't really been amazing defensively, so I like both Philly receivers. I do probably prefer Reagor for the price discount. Cheaper options for wide receiver, T.Y. finally had a decent week. 4 catches, 5 targets, 81 yards, and a touchdown. The matchup's good. I think playable. Mims finally got a price hike where I've talked about him for value the last 2 or 3 slates. He's basically got 10 fantasy points in every single game. So he's been solid, still getting a healthy amount of targets. So I think he's once again playable here, even with a little bit of a price hike. Other options at wide receiver, so the Jags, we'll keep an eye on the status of some of their wide receivers. Right, there were some injuries last game. Talked about Cole, Shenault, and Johnson. I think Colin Johnson had the biggest week. Right, he had 4 catches and 8 targets. Shenault, what did he finish with? He had 3 catches and 4 targets, and Keelan Cole had 3 catches and 6 targets. So these guys once again viable if Chark and Conley are out. Set someone to monitor. If they are both out once again, then yeah, I like the value with all 3 of these Jags receivers. Dipping down to more of the value plays here. Let's see. Olabisi Johnson, he was the number 2. Talked about in the live stream at min price, right? He had 7 catches, 7 targets. If Thielen is once again out, I think we can give Olabisi Johnson a look, right? He basically played the entire game as the number 2 guy, so that's an if then, right? If Thielen is out, I think Johnson definitely in play. If Thielen plays, I have no interest in Olabisi Johnson. Kiki Cutie's at 3.5. He'll play out of the slot with no Randall Cobb. Only did have 2 catches and 3 targets. I think you can give him a look for value, but not one of my favorite plays. Let's see. Darnell Mooney's at 3.4. It's just too cheap, right? He's basically playing the entire game. 3 catches and 9. He did have 9 targets. I know he had 8 fantasy points last game, but I just like the price point a lot on him. So, yeah, really do like Darnell Mooney there for value. Andy Isabella, potentially if Fitzgerald is once again out, we can look to Isabella for value. So, there's a good amount of value plays right now on the slate, and probably more will open up throughout the week. So that's kind of it for wide receiver. Let's talk about tight end, and then we can get out of here. As always, defense, we'll talk about that more in the final look as well as in the live stream. But for tight end, we have Waller at the top. He had a subpar game last game, partly due to the fact that the Raiders just really, really struggled throwing the ball. 6.1K, I think, is in play, but not really. I'm probably not going to prioritize him in this one. Other options, Evan Ingram's at 4.9. The targets have been pretty solid for him. He had a nice week last week, 6 catches and 9 targets. Again, game they're probably playing from behind. Got to monitor Daniel Jones' status. If Jones is out, does make Ingram a lot more risky, in my opinion. Dallas Goedert's at 4.3. If Zach Ertz is once again out, then I really like Goddard. Like, he is just too cheap. He played 100% of the snaps at last game. Obviously, we'll see how it goes tonight. But yeah, potential value here. I do like Dallas Goedert a good amount. Hayden Hurst is at 4K. Did have a donut 2 weeks ago, but still running a lot of routes, still getting targeted a decent amount. I think he's someone we can look to for value. Ertz, again, got to monitor that. If he does play, it's not going to be limited, then I think he looks pretty good. Both him and Goddard, right? We know Philadelphia loves going to their tight ends. Let's see, cheaper options at tight end. Rudolph, potential value here, 3.4. If Irv Smith is out, right, he had 7 catches and 8 targets last week. So, yeah, if Irv Smith is once again out, I think we can look to Kyle Rudolph for value. And that probably wraps it up for now. Again, potential more value that'll open up throughout the week. And as always, on defense, we'll talk about that more in the final log as well as in the live stream. So, that's going to do it for the video today, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos when I go live. As always, guys, 1 hour before lock, I will be live streaming for the main slate. If you guys are interested in the Monday Night Football Showdown slate, I do have a video up for that, as well as we'll be live streaming here in a few hours, so make sure to check the live stream for that one. Thanks again. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all later.